Here we go. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. This is Coach Art with egelloC. I want to thank you so much for joining me on an evening training. I see that everyone is in place here. If you are driving or listening in, please stay safe. If you are settling in, welcome. I just want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. We have a great subject tonight, which is the summer of leadership. And basically, what that means is what can you do to really distinguish yourself this coming summer in activities? Before I do that, I'd like to ask the question, if you could put it in the chat. For those that are on, if you could type in and let me know, are you a parent or are you a student, and what graduation year you are? So if, again, parent, student, graduation year, if you could type it into the chat, that would be amazing, because I always like to see okay, there you go. I always like to see who is joining. I see I got some 2029s, 2026ers, 27s. Okay, cool. So I have a whole bunch of people that are ranging parents and students. So welcome. I appreciate it. Again, I'm going to do one more check. If you guys can see my screen and it says the summer of leadership, if you could go ahead and give me a heart. If you can give me a heart. Again, I'm the reaction guy. There you go. I love it. Okay. So one of the things that I always love to do is, if you ever find that any information that I present is really useful to you, then go ahead and give me a heart during the presentation. It always just gives me an indication of, if I'm doing a good job, but also giving you good information. So we're going to talk about the summer of leadership. And the key things that we're going to cover today is the concept of spikiness, why summer matters, 5 leadership pathways that you can follow with respect to that, setting up a summer personal plan, and then, of course, at the end, we'll do some Q&A. All right. And I can't believe this is great. So many people here. My gosh, we almost hit a number of people. So thank you for joining. So I want to talk about the concept of spikiness. And you probably heard this from the other coaches, maybe not. But this is very, very important, because I've talked about this in previous trainings in my office hours about the concept of spikiness. So there is a concept between spiky versus round, okay? And I'm talking about spiky students versus round students. So you want to be a spiky student. And the reason why, as I say, is spikiness, okay, is defined here. A spiky student is someone that has committed significant time, okay, 100, 1,000 plus hours over multiple years, has leadership roles, okay, founder, president, lead organizer, team captain. Now, again, as I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to have a position or title, but you should be doing something very active from a leadership and growth perspective. They have clear impact. So growth of a club, creation of a service, tangible results. They have a unique or personal angle. And this is where some of the sharpness of the spiky comes along, because the activities really reflect the student's story, their identity, their ambition. Okay. And then lastly, there's some specialization. So some deep focus in a key area, let's say robotics or research or entrepreneurship or political advocacy or whatever you're doing. So what happens is that because of the number of commitment hours, the number of leadership and growth, you have these spikes, and you have these spikes in your activities, versus a student that is rounded. It's a student that has minimal, moderate, or inconsistent commitment. Okay. One that is involved but not invested. And there's a difference. They're joins but doesn't really lead, is kind of a member, not really any standout talent, project, or clear impact, doing what everyone else is doing, key club, National Honor Society, maybe some sports, a few volunteer hours. And again, I am not saying that it's bad to do anything, but the one thing is that, does it distinguish yourself from the hundreds of thousands of students that are applying out there? And then really lacking a defining narrative or theme, or focus with what they're doing. It's just kind of general, right? Now, again, we always say that you want to do something that you are passionate about, right? And so that passion should really lend itself with respect to, again, um, pointing you to be able to do the commitment hours, to really grow in leadership, to really have that clear impact and that personal angle and specialization. Okay. So if we were talking about some examples, an example, so let's say a spiky student would be someone is a student who spends 4 years building an AI powered health app, competes in national coding contests, leads a local girls who code chapter, and publishes open source tools. This student is spiky in technology and community impact. Versus a rounded student is a student who plays, let's say, JV soccer, is a member of Key Club, volunteers 30 hours annually, okay, keys annually, and attends general meetings for 3 to 4 clubs, okay? This resume mirrors thousands of other applicants. And so that's the reason why I mentioned it's smooth, it's round, it's great, it's fine. But the thing is, that, how are they distinguishable? Are they is it something that a reader can latch onto? Again, spikiness that kind of clings to them? Not really, because again, it's just like thousands of other applicants out there. So colleges really prefer spikes. And the reason why is because top colleges, as you can see, are not assembling a class of well-rounded individuals. What they're building is a well-rounded class made up of spiky individuals. Okay. So there's a really true difference. So a spiky student, they're more likely to bring leadership, innovation, or distinction to the campus. That's why the colleges love this, because they're adding to that community, they're adding to that composition of the campus with originality and leadership innovation. Okay, the admissions officers that are looking at these students can remember these students because they have a clear hook or a standout talent that may interest the reader and say, that is very interesting. And spiky profiles, they show depth, they show drive, and really a clear sense of purpose, right? Okay. And these are the traits that colleges value most, is where you have a cause that that you are really supporting one, you're really driving to that, and that drive, that driving to it, for that cause or for that purpose, translates into commitment hours and leadership and growth. Okay. So what is the message here is become spiky. Okay. Identify that spike. What do you care about deeply? What skills do you want to grow with? Okay. Commit long term. So choose 4 to 6 activities and dive deep. You notice dive deep, not dive shallow, dive deep. Create an impact. So lead, build, teach, research, start something new. You see all of these keywords. If you've ever seen my activities, creating your activities list and describing your activities list, these are power words. These are power verbs that you want to be able to use in your activities list. Okay. Document the growth. So track milestones, track awards, media coverage, and testimonials. Track all the things that shows how you have grown, how you've progressed, and then tell your story. You can use these spikiness to really use it in your essays to explain how these activities have shaped who you are, you see. And so when you do that, then you are just giving yourself so much more advantage in differentiating yourself, but also being able to see have the school see you, as a unique individual that can really bring something important, relevant, interesting to that campus. So when we're talking about spikiness and being spiky, so why does that matter in summer? Well, okay, I'll tell you why. Because activities, okay, when we talk about activities, remember, we talk about how academics, activities, and then the essay itself, right? So typically academics, all three are important, but the least important is academics, more important is activities, the most important is the essays. Well, activities are the differentiator, because the reason why is because you choose what activities you're going to do. Typically with academics, it's set because your school has a curriculum, you follow that curriculum, you get the grades. But with activities, you're the one who chooses it. Okay. And so that's what I'm talking about, spikiness, right? Um, in the fall and the spring, you're dealing with academics and activities. You're dealing with, of course, we all know, a set of courses, probably 4, 5, 7 at I've seen, where you're dealing, so it's so many academics, you have so many responsibilities at home and at school, and a bunch of activities. So there's not a lot of time during the fall and the spring, but during the summer, this is a time for spiky growth, for leadership, for initiative, because you have less amount of things that you're doing at school, and you have more time to be able to devote and make your activities spiky. Okay. Because colleges look for that individual that takes initiative beyond the classroom, beyond the school. Because not everything is all about school. Not everything exists at school. Okay. And the key thing here is it doesn't have to be complex or over the top. It just has to be intentional. It has to be purposeful. It has to have a direction. Okay. And that's where that direction is going to form that spikiness in the, because you have a clear goal in mind, right? And it's very, very intentional. So, what are the 5 leadership pathways? Okay, so what are some, when you're looking for a spiky summer, when you're looking for certain pathways, what are those? So first of all, a spiky pathway, right? Okay, spiky pathways. What are you going to do? How do you implement this? First of all, start something. Literally start something. Okay, launch a project, a nonprofit blog. Okay, something that can really that is in line with your passions, and something again that will get you going. Okay, a lot of times students, they have a hard time because they get paralyzed by saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, just get started. Launch a project. If you fail, that doesn't matter. It's about the journey that you're going through. Okay, so start it. Serve strategically. So lead service. Okay. Organize fundraisers. Okay. So that's the thing, as I mentioned, is when you're narrowing and getting a pointy spike, is you're really doing things that are strategically in line with what you are passionate about. Okay. Level up academically. So do research. Go and apply to selective programs, because this is important, because if you level up and you do research, then what happens here is that can give you that originality, that variability, but it's also in line with your passions. Intern or shadow. This is really, really important, because you can explore the different careers hands-on. Okay. And so you being able to shadow or intern gives you that perspective of what it'll be like when you are doing something as part of your career. And so that will give you that exposure to understand, is that something you want to do? Or create or perform. So produce art, produce technology, software, or hardware, or things that are within technology, or even the content, right? Produce content. So these are pathways. Start something, serve strategically, level up academically, intern or shadow, create or perform. In all of these areas, if you touch upon all of these areas in your activities, you are definitely going to be forming spiky pathways that will allow you to, again, have a true leadership summer of leadership. Okay. So if we're taking a look at a personal summer plan, okay, a personal summer plan, what does that summer plan look like? Okay, it looks like I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna stop here before I do the personal summer plan. I want to get a little bit of interactiveness here. And in the chat, what I'd like to hear from you guys are, maybe what are some things that, and maybe the students that are on can contribute. What are some things that you are doing, maybe a passion of yours or so, that can be considered a spike. So if you could go ahead and type it up in the chat, that would be amazing. Of just give one example. Give one example of something that is a spiky activity that you've done. Don't be shy. Okay, don't be shy. Love to hear from it. What some of the spiky activities that you all are doing out there. Maybe some originality or something out there. Let's see it. Go ahead and type it up in the chat, and would love to see examples of things that people are doing out there. Don't be shy. I know that this is kind of hard. And if you working in a soup kitchen, okay, that's good. So again, working in a soup kitchen is fine if you are. The one thing that I would say is, like, working in a soup kitchen, make sure it's not just, again, working in a soup kitchen, passing out. What you want to do is you want to go to the director and say, hey, are there projects that you haven't gotten to that I can go ahead and get involved in? Are there, can I go ahead and possibly lead an effort, okay, in that soup kitchen? So those are the things where, don't just be a active member, be an active leader, okay? So that's one thing. Let's see. This person says here, I've been learning Indian classical singing since taking examinations as a freshman. I've started my passion project teaching people. Great, beautiful. So this person has been learning Indian classical singing. They're creating a passion project where they're teaching people around them, and then raising funds to donate to that particular organization. Love it, because you're doing something passionate, you're doing something that's original, doing something that, again, would develop some spikiness. My daughter busts with her violin at art fairs and is starting a small business selling animal. Beautiful. Again, love it. Again, she does violin at art fairs and is doing a small business selling animal treats, which is incredible because it's helping the community, specifically dogs, or I'm saying could be dogs or animals, as well as, again, and I love it that she's using her violin. Organizing clothes drives for local charities. Okay, great. Organizing clothes drives. So make sure that you keep on going and you expand that. Maybe I know there was one individual, one young lady who was helping gather professional clothes for those for women that were going back into workforce. But then on top of that, not only did found the clothes, but then started developing a curriculum to help these young women, those are trying to find a workforce, to, let's say, write up a resume and how to interview, how to dress, how to act. So you see how that develops spikiness, because now you're not just getting clothes, but you're helping individuals really find something significant. Okay. Provide free tennis lessons to kids who cannot afford. Excellent. Okay. Again, I would encourage you to build on that. So you're giving the tennis lessons. Well, maybe you parlay that into a tennis tournament, okay, with the kids. Tennis tournament, okay. And the tennis tournament where you can raise funds, people can donate, and then you donate to charity, okay. So although it's another one, not a career aspiration, but leaning towards poli sci and really getting well in FBLA, DECA, and speed clubs at school, going to state level. So, okay. So again, great. And I never say there's anything wrong with the clubs that are in there, because some person, they were explaining about FBLA, DECA, and speech and debate. So I would encourage you is that's great. Become a leader in those, but also try to make sure is that you can expand out, maybe doing a personal project or so that you can create, because some more spikes, because school, of course, organizations at schools, a lot of people are doing it, especially the bigger organizations. You want to make and see and distinguish yourself, not only for being committed to those clubs, but also maybe a unique thing for you. So great job, everybody. Thank you so much for chiming in and providing some examples, because I love the real world examples. So let's get back into it. So now we have the personal summer plan. So what does that look like? Okay, so first of all, with a summer plan, what you want to do is there's three kind of phases: discovery, implementation, and then retrospective. So when you're creating this summer plan, discovery is answer the following questions. If you don't know, like some people say, well, how do I know about, creating spikiness here? What kind of spike? Well, answer these questions. What I care about, what I'll lead and create, who does it help, why does it matter, what are the steps I'm going to take, what is the end result or success, what does success basically look like? Okay, so it's the who, what, where, when, and how of the particular activity that you want to get involved with. Okay, and then when you have a series of these, as I mentioned, 4 to 6, I would say is list out maybe 10 different types of opportunities, right? Where you're answering all these questions. Then you go ahead and you start implementing, you take action. So select a spike, take one of the spikes, choose a format that you're going to get started, and then involve others. A lot of times, students, as I mentioned, they get paralyzed because they don't know what they want to do. They can't think. Well, get someone like a coach or a mentor. For us, for example, our coaches definitely can help with students informing their own personal projects, their spiky activities, and trying to figure out what they want to do. And remember, you don't have to be uh, reserved to just one. You can do several of them. You can do one or two or three of them, just as long as you are able to devote those commitment hours, those leadership efforts, and you're growing in it. And if you have two or three of those, wonderful, beautiful. Then you're getting more spiky. What I would caution you is not to go too crazy, okay? Because what happens is there's only so much time in the day. Of course, you want to make sure you are strong in your academics, but at the same time, you don't want to look, again, rounded, where you dilute yourself and you dilute the number of activities that you're doing, but you have these significant spikes that can really latch hold on your activity plan. And then more importantly is, from a retrospective perspective, document your results, as I mentioned, and reflect and determine how you can get better. Because, and you'll see this after this, is that it's really, really important to combine, okay, to combine the things that you're doing over a period of time, because the schools want to see consistency over time. Okay. So, what are some leadership ideas? Okay, so I'm giving them in interest areas or so. For STEM, launch a coding workshop. Okay, publish GitHub tools, run a summer robotics camp. Okay, these are interesting ideas that you can use as to really form your spikiness. Humanities, start a podcast, lead a reading circle, organize youth civic forums. Okay, in the arts, run an art show fundraiser. Okay, this is really cool. I've had a couple of students do this and they've been very, very successful in doing so. Lead a mural project. This is amazing because you can get a number of people involved, and that can touch upon a lot of different questions in the essays of leadership, of subjects that inspire you, helping your community. There's so many things there, right? Teach youth piano. Okay, in the health area, create health awareness videos. Incredible. I had one student that really worked on a mobility program for health, okay, for senior citizens, because that was the biggest thing uh in their senior center, where they just didn't move around enough. So he created a health program and started again marking that out to other senior citizen homes. And they were very simple exercises, but it was a curriculum that he created because he was passionate about learning about movement and motion and kinesiology and the physical, and the physical aspects of the human body. Design a wellness app, intern at a clinic, right? For the environment, organize cleanup drives, build a climate blog, lead a composting initiative. So there's so many things that where you can become quite original in the leadership things that you're doing, that really, really apply to you specifically. Okay, that apply to you specifically. And these type of leadership, or again, spiky ideas, They want to make sure that they're unique to you and that they drive your passions. Okay. So, with that said, what are some takeaways from what I've discussed and what I've talked about? So, first of all, you are forgettable to colleges if your activities look like a resume of did a little of everything. You don't want that. You don't want it to be saying, "Oh, I dabbed here and there. I did," because what happens is when you dab a little here and you dab a little there, that means you didn't commit. You didn't commit to the activity and you're not growing that spike with commitment hours and leadership and growth. Okay. So, very, very important to not be forgettable. Show focused passion and leadership in a few high impact personal areas. You want to become memorable and, in translation to that, admittable. Okay. So you want to become memorable and admittable, meaning admittable, of course, into the school because you have high impact personal areas. Okay. Aim to be spiky, not just involved. Okay. So aim to be spiky. Again, we went through how to become spiky, what to do. Okay. I love this. I really love this what this says here. Leadership is not a title, it's a habit of action. Leadership is not a title, it's a habit of action. So again, it's not just you're the president, but it's what you're doing as a president. We could make you president of a club, but if you're not making that club 1%, even 1% better than when you were not there, then you're really not making an impact. It really has to be a habit of action. It's one where that you have a passion, that you're devoting that passion, or you're devoting effort for that passion, and you continue on. Okay. And the reason why for summer is your summer is your stage, so make it count, because you are given the time to be able to develop your leadership and growth. You're given the time to be able to really explore your spikiness. Okay. Don't wait. Get started now. Connect your summers. And I mentioned that before. So when I say connect your summers, what you want to do is if you're going to start a spiky activity or let's say a personal project, start small. For example, if you're going to do, let's say, a workshop, or let's say you do a tournament, okay? Maybe you just take the summer to go ahead and plan all of that, to go out and find the resources and sponsors and people who will help you, and what does it look like, again, the who, what, where, when, and how. And then maybe you do something small in the fall. Okay, let's say you do a tennis competition, okay, or tennis event. Do something small for, let's say, less fortunate kids during the break, and then learn from that, and then continue on, so that by the time you get to the next summer, now you have a full-blown tournament, okay, that you can implement. And when you have a full-blown tournament that you can implement, then you start growing it and you start working on it, and you make it bigger for the summer. You learn from your mistakes, you learn from the things that really have really helped you, and you continue on. So by the time you're a senior, or sorry, summer before your senior year, this thing could be huge. Okay, this thing could be really huge. So that is, again, I always say, is connect your summers, because in the summer you have time, and try to lead up to that by connecting them, so that now you have consistency over time. And lastly is start small. Well, first of all, very important, start small. You don't need to have these huge, enormous types of activities. Remember, the key here is not necessarily the result. Of course, we want to have impact, but the key here is that you go through the effort and you learn along the way. It's the journey that you took, a journey of growth, right? A journey of commitment hours, a journey of leadership. And so at the end, if, for example, you fail, that's okay. And the reason why is because now you're showing that even though that you may have failure, and again, I would define failure as not as you failed, it's just another opportunity to find out how to be successful and how to truly find out what is successful and moving forward. Okay, so that's really a matter of learning, right? So start small and then grow it. Don't try to be so grandiose and try to figure out, oh my gosh, I need to have this thing huge my summer, before my sophomore year, because I'm so dependent or so concerned about having something in place for the application. Nope. Remember, you're not doing this for the college applications. You're doing this because you love to do it. Okay. Reflect. That's a big thing, is reflect. Always make sure that when you do and implement something, that you're looking back and figuring out, is there something that I can improve upon, and then improve it, and then keep on doing it. And that's how you're going to build. Okay. So of course, learn, grow, and then thrive. Of course, you want to thrive and make sure you're thriving because you have grown this significant project, okay, and grown this significant spike. So be spiky, right? Okay. So with that said, I do, that ends my talk. I do want to see, was that, did you learn something there? If you can, please give me a heart. I would love to see if people, okay. Whew. I always wondering. So thank you so much. I see so many hearts passing by. Thank you so much. I love this subject. I can't tell you, it really is a distinguishing factor with respect to the difference between you making it, okay, you making it to a college, because it's about being spiky. Don't be round, okay? Don't be rounded. Be spiky. I hope that that the word spiky catches on out there, and then all of a sudden you hear this thing. Let's talk about spikiness. So talk to Coach Art, because that it's really a key. If you are able to really get a stronghold in your academics, where you're doing so well, you're taking rigor courses, and then you have spiky activities, then you can hit it out of the park with your essays, because those essays are going to be helped by this spiky activity, because you're going to have content in there because you've invested the time, and then you can show the passion through your essays. Okay. All right. I do want to touch upon some important events that are coming up. First of all, remember this coming Saturday, that's literally in 4 days. So Saturday, May 10th, 2025, we are going to be hosting our College Admissions Summit 2025, our California College Admissions Summit. We are going to be providing expert guidance. It's free. All you need to do is sign up for it. What are you going to learn? We're going to give some insider strategies from former admissions readers and experts, how to stand out with the UCs and the Cal States and the private college applications out in the United States, essays and personal insight, the PIQs, what really actually works, financial aid, extracurricular and competitive majors, what really matters. The stuff that you saw tonight, that's kind of a taste, right? Is we're going to give you some great really, really great information about your journey, especially students, your journey to a college missions to have success. So again, it's free. Join the thousands of families across California that are joining us. Register now. It's at egelloC.com/summit. Again, egelloC.com/summit. If you are also listening in, so we do host a college application intensive. That intensive has 2 pieces to it. One is a kickstart. We call it a kickstart. It's a 1-day event. It's being hosted April, May, and June. Typically on the Saturdays in April, May, and June, where you're going to be doing brainstorming. At the end of that, you complete. Our goal is to complete an initial draft for the 4 UCPIQs and the 1 personal statement for the Common App. And then in July, August, and September, we're hosting the second part of our CAI, which is a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. It's called the Accelerator, where we take what you did when you were brainstorming, and now we edit those essays and we complete a final, okay, a final. And it says final draft, but really complete a final, hopefully, 4 PIQs and your personal statement. So imagine finishing your essays, at least the PIQs and the personal statements early so that you can get to your supplementals and then be ready to submit in October, which is incredible. So if you're interested in joining us with that, it's collegeappintensive.com is the link, collegeappintensive.com. Okay. So that's I would highly encourage this. This is one of our most successful events every year. So many students benefit from this. So many students, it's really a kickstart, and no pun intended, for them to get going, to get moving. And to have really a lot of time to invest the time in developing their essays. Now, I'm going to leave this open to question and answers. Okay. So if you have any questions, please list them out in the chat or put them out in our Q&A here. And as as you are listing out your questions, if you are new to our site or to our training, or you've been watching and you're interested in us giving you and your student a assessment, you can book your free 15-minute assessment with our college admissions advisors by typing book, BOOK, and texting it to us at 949-775-0865. Again, book, BOOK, at 949-775-0865. So with that said, if there's any questions, please put them in the chat or in our Q&A section. I again so always thankful of everybody joining us here, because we had so many people on this evening. I'm so happy. It's so incredibly happy that I've seen so many people that have joined us. Again, please, if you have a question, put it into chat. I always ask 3 times. Okay, always ask 3 times. So put in the chat, and let me know if you have any questions, either in the chat or in Q&A. And as I mentioned, if you are interested in getting a free 15-minute assessment, please type in the word book, BOOK, to 949-775-0865. Okay. I will go ahead and ask the last time if anyone has any questions about spikiness, about things to do in the summertime that will really lead to leadership. Please let me know, because would love to see or find out exactly any questions that you may have. And I'm going to say going once and going twice and going 3 times. Okay. So with that said, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I know this was a shorter one training today, but I think it was short and sweet, but has a lot of great content. Thank you so much for joining me for my training. You could be doing other things, spending time with your friends and family, or doing some other important tasks that you do. But you chose to spend it with me. And so I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining me for the training. Join me again for our training next time, and I'll be looking for you. So again, have an amazing, incredible week, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.